Hello guys and girls, welcome back. This one is going to be melody stuff part 2. Melody stuff part 2. That's going to be the title, yep. I've got an old track here called Deep Delight, which has 3 melodies in it. I thought that would be a good one to study and see if I'd taken my own advice when I wrote this. So let's have a look. We've got this piano melody here, you can hear. And then we kick into a sine wave synth lead. And then we also have a mandolin lead over here. So let's have a look at those 3. Okay, so here's our piano. It's a great one to start with because these bottom notes are just actually kind of the bass line, as there is no bass in the track yet. And this outlines our chord progression. So we're actually D sharp minor, but I'm displaying everything in A again to make things simpler on the eyes. So our chord progression is a 1, 7, 6, 7. And for the, again, ease of visuals, I'm going to move this bottom line up the octave so we can view our melody like this. And if we shorten the notes, just to get so it's not overlapping like that, it looks like this. So, what makes up this melody? Now, I've written the literal chords underneath here, so you can see where the melody would land within the chord, if it were there. And what we have for the first bit of the melody is a 1, 3, 2. Now, already we have a theoretical problem, and that we've landed on a 2. That's not good, is it? Well, let's carry on because there's a reason for this. Because if you look at the next one, we have the same notes again in the second chord. So this time that note does land in the chord. If we're going to be exactly harmonically correct, we might do a melody more like this. And that's okay, but this is stronger because we have this repeating. So it becomes more of a hook, more memorable. But you see why I've landed outside of the scale there, so I can make this one work. And then for our third one, this is easy to see. Note on the chord, passing note, note on the chord. Like that. And then the last one is odd. So we can ignore our, this is a passing note that's here, here, and here, so why didn't I go here? Like here. And it's back to that question and answer thing. Again, this is just my way of writing. This is not a definitely do, definitely don't kind of thing. But what I've done here is I'm kind of viewing these first 3 as the question, and this is the answer. Now, why is this the answer? Why, if it's outside of the chord, why does this resolve? It's because this is the 1 of the entire scale of the track. And technically, it is part of a chord. if I show you the chord, if it was extended, let's move that down the octave and do our extensions. Look what happens. So we land home in terms of the overall key. This is the one note of the entire key, but not this chord. But it lands on the 9th of this particular chord. So technically it's part of a chord. Okay, so let's look at our second melody here. This sine wave synth goes like this. Okay, let's have a look at that one. Again, I've overlaid our virtual chords. There are no chords here, it's just the lead and the bass. So again, this is implied harmony. But this is where the notes land in terms of our harmony. As you can see, mostly like our first trick in the last video. We're mostly the chord with passing notes in between. And that's very strong because on the, if you argue these lines are your strongest beats, these would be our kick drums here actually. You can see I'm landing on strong notes, on strong beats, which would be absolute textbook. But what happens here? The chord moves, but our melody doesn't. What does that sound like? And why have I done that? It's a great question. Because I haven't done it here. And again, let's actually just listen to it. Because this is the same chord. The second chord and the fourth chord are both chord 7 in the scale. As you can see, I am using a lot more notes of the chord over here than I am over here. And it's back to that question answer thing. I'm treating these three as a question. And this is kind of their answer. If that makes sense again. So I'm deliberately forming some tension here. Again, this track is supposed to sound quite tough. So I'm not interested in making it too pretty. This would be kind of the same vibe if you were running a sample that you couldn't adjust over moving chords. It's that kind of vibe. So we're keeping the same melody for the first three chords. Obviously, it fits well here. You can see how many of the notes land on the chord. Same here. Here, not as many. But again, if we make the extensions, you see we are landing on ninths again. So not too bad. And it's overall worth it for this payoff. By the way, sorry, our bass again is just playing 1, 7, 6, 7. Just like the lower notes of the piano earlier. Again, I've tried to land on the 1. If I was to do this today, I would actually change that. I'd probably do that. Because this only acts as a pickup to coming back round for the bar. I would do this. That for me would be a bit more, that would be more final. The same way I landed on the 1 of the key, you know, piano here. I'd probably do that if I was to change it today. But it doesn't matter. It's released now. I don't think it affects the number of streams that drastically. Who knows? Maybe I'll do a remix, a re-release, and that will be the change. Anyway, on to melody number 3. So here we have the mandolin. Now this one doesn't change at all. And that's because I wanted it to sound a lot more like a sample that I'd looped. And as we discovered in the previous melodies, let me just overlay our chords here. So there we are. Our mandolin is like, it's like a guitar from the Middle East. It's a distant relative of the tambour, one of the earliest guitar-style instruments. I've had the privilege of playing old Indian guitar-style instruments before, and particularly the one I had in mind was actually more one called a tumbi, which can only play kind of 2 notes, 3 notes max. It's a 1-string lead instrument. You hear a lot in Bhangra music. I was kind of going for that vibe. So I didn't want it to move around, and like I say, I wanted to treat it like a sample. So I just repeated for the entire thing. And again, this track is supposed to sound kind of tough, so I'm not interested in making the melody too pretty. So I think these 3 melodies serve as a great example of, once you know the rules, how to break the rules. Because that's a rule. The unwritten rule is that you can break the rules when you know the rules, right? Yeah, makes sense. So, that track was called Deep Delight. Link in the description. It's one of my better performing ones, according to Beatport, I think. I thought that would be an interesting dive into some melodies I had already done, and whether they actually use my own rules. So if you found it helpful, please leave us a like. If you have any questions, please leave us a comment. And if you loved it, leave us a sub. And in the meantime, go and try some melody stuff. Bye-bye.